Welcome to your Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Engel Völkers Silicon Valley, your weekly getaway to the pulsating heart of the global real estate market. Join us as we bring you exclusive interviews with top producing real estate agents from around the globe. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, this is your insider look into the pros, cons, and the captivating allure of the world's most sought after locations. Let's discover where your next dream home awaits. Buckle up for a real estate journey like no other. This is your Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Engel Völkers Silicon Valley. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Real Estate Review with Alan Canis. That's me, of Engel Völkers Silicon Valley. I want to give an exciting, warm welcome to today's guests, John Dean and Valerie Post, covering the greater Boston area. This is going to be a good one. Hello, John and Valerie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Alan.
Hi, Alan.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And, we're just going to dive right in because I know people don't want to really hear me talk. They want to hear you. So would you please tell us what each of you did before real estate? And it would be great if you would tell us the how, when, and why you chose real estate. Val, would you like to kick us off?
Sure, I'll start. My daughter was in college, needed a summer job, and instead of folding t-shirts on a Saturday night for $11 an hour, I said, why don't you go ahead and get your real estate license? And she came home the first day of working in a real estate office and said she didn't like the guy. He was yelling at her.
Ooh.
And I said, oh, he's a really good friend of mine. I'll go in and I'll help you. I stayed for the summer. And somebody said to me, what are you going to do when she goes back to school? And I thought, I am going to quit. This is the hardest job I've ever had in my whole life. I didn't quit, and it's been 15 years, so love it.
Oh, that's terrific. How about you, John?
So I started my career doing the dot-coms, or as some would like to say, the dot-bomb era. And I've done numerous startups from there. And I went from being also a federal park ranger. And then right before I became an agent, I had my own marketing company, which in 2009, all those funds were starting to dry up. So my neighbor just happened to manage a real estate office and said, hey, why don't you try it? And I thought to myself, I don't think I really want to do this. And lo and behold, here we are almost 15 years later.
Wow.
And it's been no holds bar, keep going. It's been amazing.
That's terrific. Both of your great stories. Would you tell us a bit about your background in real estate and your specific experience with clients relocating to the Boston area? Who would like to start?
I could start. So it's funny. This is one of the other reasons why I became an agent too, is when I relocated to the Boston area, I followed my wife up from Connecticut. All the agents that I bumped into didn't seem to want to give me the education on all the neighborhoods and where to go and what meant what and where meant where. And I kind of got fed up, and I had the feeling that they just wanted me to buy something rather than educate me. So I took that experience and then rolled it into all of my relocation business that I do here in the Boston area. And I do work with now a lot of physicians because my wife is a physician. I work with a lot of technology because that's my background. And I really try to think about, hey, this was me 20 years ago. How would I have liked to have been treated? And then I roll that into my business.
That's great. Terrific. How about you, Val?
So as far as relocation goes, my husband worked for a large company, and we were relocated several times. And we kept coming back and forth from Boston to Virginia, Boston to Pennsylvania, Boston to wherever. And it was always really tough coming back to Boston because the housing market is relatively expensive here from the other areas we lived in. So I felt like John did, that it was really nice to have somebody that knew the area, who could give us an idea of where we wanted to be. We could have been anywhere in New England. You're big in California. We're very small in the New England area. And Boston is nice. We looked at all of the suburbs, and it was fun to be back here, but you wanted somebody who was knowledgeable, and it was amazing how many people could give you the wrong information and do it with a smile.
That always amazes me. When I talk to clients who have worked with other realtors and they tell me things, it's like, wow, that would have been the first sign I need to move on to somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are some of the unique features or attractions of the Boston area or Boston in general that make it an appealing destination for people looking to relocate?
So I think Boston is the hub of New England. You can go skiing, you can go sailing, you can go swimming, you can go skating, you can do whatever you want to do within a couple of hours of any direction, except for east, that sort of puts you in the
Yeah.
ocean. So
Well,
people can live anywhere. People normally start looking in Boston, so they come to us. But really, where our expertise is anywhere within a 20-mile radius of the Boston area, which covers a lot of the suburban areas also.
terrific. John, do you have anything to add?
No, I gotta agree with Val because Boston you can get anywhere. I mean, I'm in Maine in 40 minutes from my house.
Wow.
I could do whatever I want to do very quickly. Like we can go into the city and watch a show, or I can be in Maine hiking in the woods or snowmobiling or fishing off the coast of Boston Harbor or through the islands or going out to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. I think we have a very diverse community and we have a big draw because of that, because of, universities, biomedical, technology, colleges. So, I mean, we have everything that people want to do for work is here in Boston. I mean, it's just been amazing to see how many people are coming into this city in this area.
Boston is one city that I have not visited yet, so it's on the list.
Oh, you have
We
to come
have to
out.
get you here.
I will be coming out. Um, how would you describe the current real estate market in Boston, and what trends should a potential relocator be aware of?
I think we have a very hot market. I think we're one of the hottest in the United States. Boston proper itself is always a hot spot. Beacon Hill, Back Bay are big destinations and big neighborhoods that people focus in on. And then outside of the city, Cambridge, Somerville, Medford area are still a big draw. I think some of our biggest challenges right now is inventory. Single families are in such high demand and such short supply that I think people that are relocating can't understand the velocity of the market when they get here because things will come on a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday, and they'll be gone after the first open house Monday, Tuesday
Yeah.
if they're priced right and done properly. And that's with an agent slowing things down because the demand is just that high for single families.
I also think, John, that our rental market is very high.
Yes.
People are surprised when they come in here, even if they're coming from New York City, LA, places where you would think pricing would be very high. They're surprised that we are on par, maybe even higher than some of those areas.
Wow.
So it's not unusual for somebody to say, I'm going to rent for a year. They look at see what rentals are and they go, you know what? Let's just get it over with and let's buy.
Pull the band-aid off. Let's go.
John talked about having, world-class hospitals, world-class universities. It's not unusual where somebody looks at what the cost is going to be for their child to go to school for 4 years and
Yeah.
have roommates and to buy a condo.
Yeah.
And in the past, when the market was really, really booming, it was almost like school could be free. You could buy something and think that you were going to end up selling it for two, three, 400,000 more than
Wow.
you had paid. So I think that's slowed up a little bit, but we call it the kitty condo market.
The kitty condo market.
And a lot of that kiddie condo market is also international buyers that are coming into the
Oh,
university system too, for Harvard or MIT
yeah.
or Boston College or any of the other big universities. So, I have clients that are buying condos for their children that aren't even college age yet, trying to plan in advance for their 7-year-old who'll be at Harvard in 10 years.
Right. They want them to be able to apply locally versus from overseas where the competition would be so much higher.
With the common challenges that we're talking about, and some might even look at it as a pitfall, that when people face these, how are you helping them navigate these challenges?
The first way to really navigate these challenges is they have to be able to have a real conversation with their advisor. And you really have to dive into what their expectations are, what their needs are, and what their wish list is, and then prepare them for the market, the velocity that we have to move at. because I think that's one of the biggest hurdles is how quickly things move. And in some cases, if they're relocating from areas that are not as urban, sometimes it's a little bit of sticker shock too. Wouldn't you agree, Val?
Yes, yes. But it's not as much a sticker shock when they see how much it's going to be to rent.
Oh.
True, true. Well, many of our communities do offer tax breaks as well. If you own or occupy, you get a residential exemption in many of our communities, which is makes it more advantageous for them to purchase versus rent.
And I think, John, also, it's not, and Alan, it's not unusual that somebody went to university here or
Yeah,
did a residency here and then comes back 20 years later and says, you know what, my kids are back here. I loved living in the area. I want a place not just where my kids can be in a dorm, I
right.
want something where I can stay as well. And they know that the appreciation that's happened in the Boston area, whether it's in Boston or the suburbs, has been a good investment for them.
Yeah.
So they understand that it's just a diversification of their portfolio.
Makes sense. With the cost of living, the rental, I mean, we are experiencing that here in the Silicon
Yeah.
Valley Peninsula, San Francisco
Sure.
Bay Area, and it is a sticker shock, and it's getting people past that. Can you give us a sense of lifestyle in the Boston area? What are the local communities like, and what kind of amenities can a newcomer expect?
So you roll out of wherever you're living, and everything is at your fingertips. The coffee shops at your fingertips. The shopping is at your fingertips. The grocery stores at your fingertips. Boston, Cambridge are very walkable cities. Cambridge does a lot of biking. Boston is having a huge push right now in putting bike lanes in. You can walk from one side of Boston to the other in probably 20 or 25 minutes.
Wow.
And again, Cambridge, Somerville, a lot of those areas, you're going to bike very quickly. And even the suburbs. My daughter lives in the Newton area. She's 12 miles away. It's a 12-minute drive. So it's nothing for somebody to come in two or three, two or three times a day if need be. It's a commutable area.
It sounds like it.
And don't forget, we also have fantastic mass transit as well. I mean, the most of our neighborhoods in like Cambridge and Somerville are what I like to call broken down into centers and squares. So every single neighborhood has its own little name, like Ball Square or Harvard Square or Davis Square. And those neighborhoods really kind of they stay in the neighborhood that they live in, but the neighborhoods have everything like Val had mentioned, where they have coffee shops, grocery stores, restaurants. Some neighborhoods have much more live music and live entertainment, but I think anybody that's coming to this area is going to find whatever they want to find, from James Beard Award winning restaurants to theater to parks to Massachusetts and Boston that has a huge boating environment as well. The state actually promotes state-run boat clubs
Oh,
for people to go out and be a sailor, be do navigation if they'd like. Um,
Right.
and we have Encore Casino. I almost forgot about that.
And we, and we also, Boston doesn't let the waterfront be closed off at all. So you can walk for miles and miles throughout the Boston
Yeah.
area and stay on the water. No, nobody is allowed to build up to the water.
oh,
You
oh,
just, it's all walking paths
Yeah.
throughout.
that sounds
So
wonderful.
you've got to come. It's a really lovely city area.
It's on that list.
Okay.
Boston is known for its beautiful weather. Can you talk about the climate?
Today we have
So
snow.
I'm from Syracuse. I think the weather's great in the Boston area. We have four seasons,
Yeah.
and when it's cold and snowy, you put on your parka, you put on your hat, and you go skating in the downtown area, or you put your skis on and go up to New Hampshire, Vermont, or Maine,
Yeah.
or you just get a good pair of walking boots and you're okay.
I don't know. I like having all four seasons. I love having fall and fall is my favorite because, you have all the temperature changes, you get the leaves, you get the color, you can go for a drive, you can go up the Kangamangas Highway. These are some of the prettiest drives in the entire United States. And you're talking maybe 30 to 40 minutes outside of Boston to do these things.
Wow.
So, I like having all four seasons because there's things to do everywhere in every season. You're not you're not going to get cabin fever just because it's winter here. So, I mean, you can go ice skating on the Frog Pond, or you could go skiing in Maine or Vermont or New Hampshire. You can go boating in the summer. You can go hiking in the fall, or fishing or whatever else you wanted to do. I mean, I think, it's not like we get to experience everything that the 4 seasons give us.
And it all sounds so picturesque.
Quintessential New England.
From your perspective, what are the top benefits for someone considering a move to the Boston area?
Lifestyle.
Lifestyles are big. I mean, Massachusetts was named one of the best states to live in this year in the entire nation.
Wow.
Boston gives you the conductivity because we have an international airport that's 15 minutes outside of the city. I mean, I can get anywhere fairly rapidly. So if I want to come out to San Francisco or go to Austin, Texas, like at EVX this year, I'm at the airport in 20 minutes and hopping on a plane to go someplace. So, but we also have all the major highways as well. So it's very easy to get around or go wherever I want to go.
So we have great sports teams
Yeah, great.
that are very accessible, and the Patriots are going to come back. So we'll have all of them really
Fingers
good.
crossed.
I think it offers everything that anybody could want.
And you still have the
In a,
Celtics, right?
yep, we have the Celtics.
Yes.
We're right downtown Boston. We've got the Bruins right downtown Boston. We've got, again, the Patriots. They're our furthest
And
team
of course,
away.
the Red Sox.
And the
The
rest.
the Red Sox are, and all of those teams are within walking distance of where John lives, where I live. You can take mass transportation, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to Uber in 5 or 10 minutes. It's easy. I think I would describe Boston area as easy living. What do you think, John?
I would agree because you can, like I said, I'd get downtown in no time. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it blows my mind that I can get into the city in under 15 minutes.
Well, everything we're talking about is making me really want to live in Boston.
Well, I can help you relocate.
You know a good advisor, John, for me?
I do. I know the perfect person. Know the perfect person.
My husband and I, we've talked about relocating, and I said, if I relocate out of the area, I do not want to work because I don't want to start over. So that's why we've stayed put so far. In what ways do you, as real estate agents, provide a value to someone relocating from another state or region? And how do you differentiate yourself from other real estate agents in the Boston area?
I think it kind of dovetails back into my original kind of answer. I mean, I empathize with them because I relocated and knew nothing. And my wife actually picked the rental out before we got here. And I knew nothing. She's like, "Oh, we're going to live in Back Bay." I'm like, "Is that good?" I'm like, "I don't know. Is that good?" So I found out later why it was. And then when we were buying, which was shortly after, like a year after we rented, because as Val mentioned, the rental prices were so insane. I still didn't really know a lot of the other neighborhoods that this agent was taking me to. And I think the biggest thing that I can offer is I've already went through this. I've lived through a relocation, and I can share my experience of what gave me anxiety and what gave me comfort, and really dive into what they want their lifestyle to be. Do they want something to be more urban or suburban, or kind of a blend of the two? I mean, we have communities like Melrose that are just outside the city that give you that quintessential New England town feel, but still have 3 train commuter rail stops inside of town so that you can get into the city, or it's a short walk to the Orange Line, which gets you directly into the city in no time. So I think that's and a good advisor is going to really dive into that with that person or family that's relocating. And I think a lot of advisors or a lot of agents sometimes forget that it's more than just finding the house; it's finding that lifestyle and that community that person wants.
That's true.
John, don't you also think from a relocation point of view, people come in thinking they want to be really close to where their work is going to be. So if they're working in Cambridge, they start out saying, I want to be in Cambridge. And then when they realize how easy
Yeah.
and close it is to get to either other urban areas like downtown Boston or Somerville or whatever, and then they say, you know what, tell us about the school system. the school system is a really big part of relocation people for
Huge.
us.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if they want the suburbs, we know the suburban school system. That's an easy part for us to figure out. Or if they want to stay in the city, we know the independent schools that they want to look at, and can they get into them? Do we know somebody that can get them in? What can we do to help them?
Yeah. I mean,
And a
schools are a
lot of
big
it
driver.
leads by, yeah, what are the family needs?
And that's how it
Somebody
should
who
be.
doesn't mind driving may go out to Newton or Wellesley or Weston or Dover or whatever. And there are people that say, I don't want to spend 20, 30 minutes in the car. I want to, again, I want to be able to walk to work. So it's understanding the needs, and is the is the significant other going to be working? Where are they going to be working? Do we need to put them in the middle? Maybe it's not always just close to one person's location, because very often the significant others are also working in today's marketplace.
Especially here.
I had clients relocating and the wife came out and we did everything geared towards where the wife was going to be working. When the husband came out, he said, "Wait a minute, I don't want to commute 45 minutes."
Right.
She completely forgot about her husband.
So when we used to live in Philadelphia, they wanted my husband to transfer to Silicon Valley. And the realtor sent me a Federal Express package. I'm going back 20 years ago. And they sent me a really thick package. And I looked at the price of housing in Silicon Valley. And then the realtor explained to me that my kids would not be able to get into even the public school system, that they were overfilled.
Yeah.
And my husband landed, and I said, come on home. We're not moving there. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes of me telling him not to move there. But it was just that realtor did not do a good job. All that realtor did was scare me.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me how you make a smooth transaction. And he literally got on the plane and came back to the Philadelphia area.
And that's too bad because you would have been so welcomed here.
And I would have loved the weather, it
Yeah, you
sounds
might be on, you
like.
might be on my team.
I would like that. I would like that.
I would love it. What is just one piece of advice you would give someone who is thinking about relocating to the Boston area?
Have a real conversation and find an advisor that you trust. I think that if you have to interview a couple different people to find the right fit for yourself. And I think that's important to do. And then once you find that person, have a real discussion with them. Because if you can't be open and forthright with what you're looking for and what you want, it'll be very difficult. And you'll just run around looking at houses rather than trying to really figure out what you want. Because I find that there are some folks, they get here and they start somewhere on the internet finding houses, and they chase the pretty shiny house and don't chase their actual goal of what they want their lifestyle to be. And
Yeah.
I think they spend a lot of time doing that, and I think they miss a lot of opportunities. So I think the role of the advisor, like myself, is to really take everything that they're giving me, digest it down, and then say, hey, look at, have we considered this area? Have we considered this area? Have we considered this area? Let's tour these communities together and see what it's like.
That makes sense. How about you, Valerie?
I like to ask people to make a wish list with me.
Yeah.
What's a necessity? What would you really like? And where are we budget wise? And we then tend to whittle it down from, okay, nobody ever gets what they want 100% on the wish list, because as your wish list gets bigger, your budget gets bigger also. And it's always worked that way, that where John is saying that from the wish list, you then whittle down what areas can actually get you what you want. Again, you can be in an urban area where a price per square foot is relatively high. You can be in an urban area where it's relatively low. You can be in the suburbs. Again, you can commute very easily in the Boston area. So if you say, I want parking and I want an acre and I want brand new and I want to spend, $1 million, we're going to take you further out than, maybe where you were thinking. And then we sort of bring you back as to, here are your options. It's really easy to get to all these towns. If you like the person you're working with, you don't have to work with each person in each different town. You can stick with that person and they'll know most, if they're an experienced advisor, they'll know most of the advisors anyways that
Yeah.
that have the listings.
That's how it is here. We
Okay,
cover a vast area, but we know the especially the top advisors
Sure.
that are
right.
doing the most of the business, like what we're doing, and the off market listings, et cetera. I love making the list. It's one of my favorite parts when meeting with new buyers because they'll say, "Well, I know we can't get this." I said, "You never know." And
Right.
write it down. You want the big walk-in closet, you want a deep soaking tub, you want a fireplace, you want the acre, etc. It's just then we whittle things down, like you said. And I would just met with clients last night, and I said, if we can get you 80 to 85% on your list, that's a home run.
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
never can get 100%. We
I
try.
say 75%, write the offer.
There you go.
It is because of the scarcity of inventory here. And I don't care what your budget is, you're never going to get everything. It's
Yeah.
impossible. Plus our housing stock is older too. So there's no perfect.
Well, and I'm hearing what you're saying regarding the real estate market in Boston, in the Boston area, and it's a little crazy. What do you think is causing that craziness?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things, especially with single families. It's the fact that there's many people that have a low mortgage, like a 2 point something mortgage, and moving is going to cause them to increase their housing costs substantially. So I think there's a lot of people that just say, hey, I'm not going to move. I'm just going to renovate or add on. I think that's causing it. Plus, I think the demand is so high because of the influx of people that we have coming into the Boston area to supply workforce for the universities, the hospitals, biotech, pharmaceutical, everything. I think Boston's just been a big draw and it's growing. I don't see it slowing down. And I chuckle because there's buyers out there that go, I'm going to wait till it crashes. I'm like, how long are you going to wait? I mean, we're going up every year exponentially. I mean, we're not going up the 10 and 15% that we did in some years, but we're easily going up 4 to 5%. And no, that compounds year over year over year. So I think those are the two things that are causing inventory issues with us.
John, don't you find also that people who buy homes here, even if they leave, they tend to say, I want to keep the house? We have no vacancy rate whatsoever.
Yes, I would agree with that. Or they keep it for passive income because rents are so high. I mean,
Right.
that's impacting things as well. I would agree with that for sure.
Do you have a tax savings, or is your tax like California's?
It's only if you own or occupied you get a break in some of our communities. It's not in all of them.
Yeah, you get 3 or 4,000 off your taxes,
And when
off your real
you
estate
sell, do you
taxes.
have a capital gains tax as well?
No, so we go under the federal, where if you owner occupied for 2 years as your primary residence, you do 250 on a
Okay.
single person or 500 on a couple.
And we still have the state tax stamps as well.
Gotcha.
$4.56 per thousand that the seller has to pay.
Okay. We have similar. How do you see your area evolving in the next few years, and what impact might that have on new residents?
So I think the only slow part we have of the Boston market is Boston was not known for its high rises, and that has been a new thing over the last probably 15 years, that a lot of high rises have gone up, and people here were not used to the higher condo fees. We are not a concierge city. People didn't feel they needed the elevators per se. They didn't feel like they needed the swimming pool. So that's been a new add-on to the city. Prior to that, we were 5 stories and under.
Self-managed mostly.
Yeah, and so there's not a lot of new stock being. I think all the high rises sort of came on. There's a couple more
Yeah.
coming on. Affordable housing is a big push from our current mayor right now, and we need more housing
Yeah.
is what they feel. So we're not seeing, like John said, the person who's waiting for the crash or for the dip. They just have been missing the market for the last 20 years, waiting for it.
And
Yes.
somebody else's mortgage.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And rents have increased,
Exactly.
substantially. I mean, one year I think they jumped 14%.
Wow. Well, and here I say we're like on an island, even though we're not, we're on a peninsula. It's very little building. And so what
Right.
we're starting to see is that some of the malls are going away and they're building these infrastructure of housing because we need it. We need the
Yeah.
housing. Where do you think most of your buyers are coming from? Which areas?
I get a lot of clients from California, actually. Um, LA area, San Francisco area. Um, that's probably my number one feeder market. It seems as of the last couple of years.
Okay.
Um, I don't know, and international. I do a lot of international clients as well that are coming from Germany and other areas of Europe.
How about you, Valerie?
So I'm thinking as you were saying that and asking, we had a really big influx from overseas,
Yeah.
especially from China,
Yep.
Hong Kong. A lot
Taiwan.
was coming from the eastern side. I don't see a lot of California people. We saw a lot of people coming from the outskirts of the suburbs that were further away, wanting to come into downtown Boston. But now with COVID and their kids all moved in with them, they're not in a hurry to move. Like John said, they're all in this 2.5, 3% interest rate.
Yeah.
So I think most of the people that come in are coming in for job transfers, whether they're
Okay.
coming in from North Carolina, Washington, Florida, Texas, I think is a big area for people to come into. Again, because of our biotech, our high tech, the people coming in are mainly coming in for job transfers.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I'm a big foodie, and so food is important to me no matter where I go. And would you tell me a little bit about the culinary experiences someone might find in the Boston area?
John, this is your purview.
It's how I learned all my neighborhoods when I first moved to the city and I became an agent. I walked everywhere and I ate my way from Back Bay all the way through Somerville and Cambridge to learn all the neighborhoods. So
Wow.
and I think the beauty of the Boston area is that you can get with any type of food that you want to eat in this area. You can get Ethiopian, Etrian, good old New England fare from chowder to lobsters to Italian to Chinese to Thai, whatever you want. I mean, food wise, I think we're a very blessed city for some really, really good food.
It,
Um,
it sounds wonderful.
that's a good wine town too. I mean, we have a good wine culture here, and I think a very strong food culture. We've got a lot of celebrity chefs in the area.
And I call John when I need somewhere to go to eat, so I'm the wrong
Yeah.
person to ask with that.
How do you think technology and online resources have impacted the way people approach real estate, especially when relocating?
Well, I think there's two things. I think it's a little WebMD-esque where people go into Google or ChatGPT and they ask these questions or research, but and they kind of make themselves pseudo experts in the area.
Mm, yeah.
But Google or ChatGPT is not going to tell you that street floods every time it rains heavy, or that this area is indicative where they pile all the snow every winter. I think they underestimate the ability of what a really good advisor is going to give them. And I think everybody does that with the internet. Whenever they're researching something, they start with Google and they get to a certain intellectual level there. And then they either think that they're experts or they think that they have enough information to actually go talk to an expert.
Okay.
So, John, I think it's Google, but I think it's also the Zillow, Redfin model, which is where they get started on the whole thing, and
The
they
housing
quickly
costs,
realize,
yes, I agree.
yeah, they quickly realize that that is not the way to do it, and they find an advisor that they feel comfortable with. Like John
Yep.
said, if you don't know about snow, Alan, you don't want to park your car on the side of the street where the snowplow puts all the snow,
Or the
because
shady
you look.
side of the street where you're gonna that snow's gonna last forever.
Exactly. Or Zillow won't tell you what side of the street is the more desirable because it's the sunny side of the street as far as sun coming into the windows. Or again, if you're out in the suburbs, the western suburbs, whatever, um, where you don't want to be because the traffic is really bad in the morning because everything is converging in.
or
that,
bottlenecks
there are
in a
certain
certain
parts
area.
you want to be at in the towns.
And speaking of streets, so Valerie, I was told by John you live on one of the most desirable streets. Can you tell us a little bit about your neighborhood?
So I live in Back Bay. I live on Marlborough Street, and I live on what they consider the first 4 blocks of Marlborough Street, which is where everybody wanted to be 20, 30 years ago. I did not have a good agent when I came here, and he didn't tell me I was buying on the wrong side of the street. But but I'm very happy with what side of the street that I'm on. I'm really close to Newbury Street, which has amazing shopping. I'm close to all of the restaurants. Now, over the last 20 years, though, what people don't realize is a lot of the good stuff happened from the 4th block to maybe the 10th block because I'm very close to, let's say, Chanel or Hermes. I might actually want to be closer to TJ Maxx and Uniqlo, the places where I want to be able to shop really quickly, or I want to get to the grocery store quickly.
But
So
you're close to the garden and the common.
Back Bay is wonderful, but there's all of the areas are wonderful. I used to live on the waterfront. Um, that was terrific. The seaport, which is used to be a parking lot 10 years ago, it's incredibly built up now, and it's
Yeah.
got everything.
Wow.
So the city has boomed in those little, since John and I got into the market. I didn't realize, John, you and I had been in for the same amount of time. The face of the city has changed
Tremendously.
incredibly, and all for the good.
It's amazing how much it's changed.
This question wasn't on the questionnaire. I have one last question, and then we'll
But we
wrap
can't answer it then.
Uh-oh.
Would you mind sharing just one of your favorite real estate relocation stories? Do you have one?
I have a good story, but it takes a couple of minutes to explain it, but I will. And
Okay.
it's really not me necessarily. And I think this explains Boston. We had an advisor in the office who had just started. It was 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. A kid walks in, and he just started at Northeastern. And he said, I'd like to rent an apartment. I don't really like my dorm. I can spend up to $5,000. So the advisor finds him an apartment for $5,000. 2 days later, the father walks in and says, "Thank you very much for finding my son an apartment, but what I really want to do is buy something." And the advisor goes, "How much can you spend?" And he said, "I'd like to spend up to $1 million." Within 10 days, they had closed on a $5 million condo for the son to live in. 2 years later, the son moves to the Boston area to go to school, and they also bought him a $5 million condo. The father was so appreciative of the advisor helping his son relocate and be happy in Boston. He flew him and his girlfriend to England, Paris, and Dubai
Wow.
in order to introduce him to some of his associates so that the advisor could get more business. This advisor had been in the business for 2 weeks when that happened.
Wow.
So it was actually a bad way to start the business because he thought every deal was like that one.
That's a great way to
So
start.
that's the best relocation story that I've seen as far as
Wow.
helping
Can you
somebody.
top that, John?
I don't know if I could top that, but I will say that this past year I did have a great relocation from a family from Taiwan that was helping their daughter go to Harvard Law School. So we did everything from abroad, everything from finding it, home inspections, everything was done with them in Taiwan, including once we purchased it, coordinating all of the painting and touch-ups that they wanted to do to personalize everything. And this was all done before she moved in, which for the family was amazing because they had nobody here to help them.
Wow.
So, and it was fun to do because I got to do like a little mini project outside of just normal real estate work. So I got to pick the colors. I got to do a lot of extra things, and it was amazing how grateful they were when she finally moved in because she just moved in and started life versus having to fight with contractors and get everything renovated and done. I mean, most of our housing stock, remember, is old, like 1800s, 1890s. Most of Back Bay, Cambridge, and those areas are all older.
It's nice when your services are truly appreciated.
Yes.
I love that, because I know I've done a good job. That's for my clients. So that's going to wrap us up. And I want to thank everyone for listening to the Real Estate Review with Alan Canis. Again, that's me, of Engel Völkers in Silicon Valley. And I truly want to say thank you, John and Valerie. If anyone needs a realtor in the greater Boston area, my recommendation is definitely interview John and Valerie first. And that may be your last stop. That's my vote.
Thank you.
Alan, thank you so much for having us. You are incredibly enjoyable to deal with.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll see you soon at EVX.
Yes, definitely. EVX.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Can't wait.
It'll be
Thanks,
warmer than
Ed.
here. No.
Yes. Well, bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.